I am here with Piper Butcher, who is a fantastic recording artist from Newcastle in New South Wales, who released an EP called September in September. Hello, Piper. Lovely to talk to you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Yes, the EP, it's very, very exciting. Very, very proud of it. And yes, thank you for having me today.
Um, it's look, I'm excited because I'm a fan. I've been playing the EP on high rotation. It's only 5 songs. When I say only 5 songs, 5 songs are a lot to put together. But each time I listen to the song, I think I love them more each time. So, given that it was released in September, though, were you able to play any shows in support of the release?
So I originally wanted to do something really big with it, but I was fortunate enough that we didn't have to slow down too much. When it was released, I was in lockdown, which was just so devastating because I wanted to do this big show just to celebrate it as a whole. But after lockdown was lifted, and even through the start of this year, I've had a pleasure, doing a couple of shows and being able to do just fully my own original music and just really show that EP to the world, because that EP is like a baby, like you'd understand that. And so I've really had a fantastic time, getting some gigs in.
Yeah. So you were, because I think you had some shows like you were booked to do support for UMI, amongst other things, in
Yes.
January. Was that able to go ahead?
Unfortunately not. So I was going to open for UMI at the Cambridge Hotel here in Newcastle. That was absolutely a fantastic opportunity. And unfortunately, it's gone down the drain.
Right.
I also had the Tamworth Country Music Festival, which was a humongous event. And I had my own headline show there. But on the bright side of that, it has been postponed and I do have a date. So I'm ready to get back on the horse and start going with that again. It was way earlier in 2021 that it got announced that the Wickham Park Blues and Roots Festival was cancelled, but that was meant to be in January as well.
Right.
So yeah, many, many things, but to look on the bright side, we're almost near the end of the month already. It's absolutely ridiculous. And hopefully February is going to be much bigger and better.
Yes, indeed. Are you able to say what your Tamworth date is, or are you holding on to the announcement?
I'm going to hold on to it a little bit, just to make sure that the tickets are ready and all of these things are lining up. But yes, it's going to be right prime time in the week. Very excited, and you'll definitely hear it soon.
Great. So people can keep an eye on your social media, I would imagine, for that
Definitely.
announcement. Yeah. So to play your own headline show is phenomenal, and you absolutely should have your own headline show. Is it a bit nerve-wracking to think, Tamworth headline show?
100%. I've done a couple in the past, and I've really had the pleasure of getting to know many, many amazing venues and venue owners, and getting those opportunities down here in Newcastle. But to play in a different town, in especially Tamworth at Country Music Festival time, when it's just at its height in music, it's such a surreal moment that people value me enough to offer me that spot. And I think when I first had that phone call saying, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I nearly lost it. I was freaking out about it, because it's just so welcoming to have that belief in me about being able to do more with my music and share my music with people. And I'm very, very nervous about it, but I'm very, very ready to take this on too.
Well, as I like to say, Piper, it's not show business. It's not show friends. It's show business. I stop that up then. So if people are offering you the opportunity, it's not out of a sense of charity. It's because they think that you could actually do it.
Exactly.
But I think the September is your first EP, but there's so much confidence in the tracks, and confidence can be a loaded word because it can sound like, you're full of yourself or whatever. But as a listener, it's always such a treat to have an artist who is confident, because it means the artist is doing the work for us. So all we have to do is sit there and go, this is great. And so these 5 songs are all really confident pieces of work, songwriting wise, singing wise.
Thank you.
Did you feel, so I'm wondering actually for you to get to that place where you could record them and feel that strength in yourself, how much of a process was it through the writing and the rehearsing and all of that?
Well, it definitely did take me a while, and just with songwriting in general, I took a lot to come around and be able to present my songs in a live performance, let alone have them online for everyone to view around the world. And yeah, so it took me a couple of years to sort of be comfortable, and I think that was the most one of the most poignant reasons why I wanted to put the first song that I ever wrote on the EP. That song is called "Not Yet's" the fourth track, and yeah, it was meant a lot to me to definitely have that song on there, and it doesn't get talked about much, that little song, but
I love it, just
yeah,
FYI.
thank you very much. But yeah, so taking that as an example, like even though there is 5 songs on the EP, like I spent a little bit of time really making sure that I was ready for the world and ready to put my music out, and that sort of song holds the start of my career, I guess, the start of my own career with my own sound. So it did definitely take me a while to come around with all of these songs, because they're all personal stories. I love writing from the heart, so after it did take me a bit, I felt comfortable, and I had, my band and my producers egging me on and always supporting me, and, friends and family as well. So it made me feel very valued and felt, confident enough to put the EP out.
Well, I did actually have a question about Not Yet, which was what is the inspiration behind the song, but I think you've answered that. But when you actually, I'll ask you instead of a process question, when you came to write your first song, Not Yet, did you think, how do I begin this? Or did you just pick up your guitar and think I'll see what comes out of this whole thing?
Yeah. Well, I think every song is different, but for this first song, it was very weird, actually. I was just laying in my bed, 12-year-old kid, didn't want to have to go to school the next day or whatever it was, and just sitting up all night, and I just had this little brainwave, like, I'm going to write a song. I've absolutely loved creative writing for years, and I've had, a couple of poems and short stories published in books when I was younger.
Right.
And so, that creative sort of streak has run very, very thick in my life from a young age. And, I just sat up in my room, and I can't even remember. It was sort of like a blackout moment. I just, wrote a couple of things down, and I'm pretty sure that's one of the only songs that I've ever written without my guitar, because I hold my guitar like very close to me. Absolutely love it. Musicianship is, something that I regard highly. And yeah, it was very, very weird experience, actually, just to be able to sit up and just be like, okay, I'm going to write something like this down. And then I, oversaw it in the next couple of days and finished it off. And yeah, that's what it is.
So obviously, to get to the point of writing that when you were 12, because as you said, you had written some short stories and things like that, but from a musical point of view, you obviously were a musician by that stage. So at what age did you first start playing a musical instrument?
Oh, I've been musical since the start. I had piano lessons when I was about 7 or 8, and I moved on to drums when I was 10, and that did not last long.
Probably your parents were happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. And so I dabbled a bit with those, and I always used to sing. But when I first found my groove with my guitar, I was about 10, and my dad showed me a couple of chords, and I was absolutely in love with the sound of the instrument and what sounds you could make. And we've always been a musical family, listening as well. So I just envisioned that I wanted to do something like that. I want to make that sound so cool. Like, I love singing these songs. Why can't I do that? So I started when I was 10, and I'm here and living it, loving it.
And doing very well at it. I have to say, because I grew up playing piano, and in recent years I've been learning guitar. I think guitar is harder.
Yes.
And I think it's something to do with the fact that if you're right-handed, the left hand's actually doing most of the work on a guitar for right-handed people. It can be quite painful learning guitar. So as a little person, how did you get your brain and your fingers, I guess, around a guitar? Or did you have a mini size guitar?
I started off on my dad's guitar, but funny noting the hand situation, because I'm actually left-handed, but I play guitar right-handed.
Right.
So that was very, very weird for me to sort of try that. I was that weird kid in the back of the classroom that would use the mouse on the left hand and get the buttons confused because I just couldn't handle using my right hand. But yeah, so it took me a while to get around it on Dad's guitar, and I learned 3 chords. And while that was very, very daunting, I always had like my little ukulele, and I used to, dabble on that a little bit. And don't get me wrong, the chords aren't even close to being the same, but to just, learn that muscle memory a little bit sort of helped me along. And I got a guitar. Oh, it was a very, very cheap guitar, but I still love it to this day. It started me off. And I just got on that, and YouTube was my best friend.
Oh, wow.
YouTube, and there's a little app on the App Store. I'm pretty sure it's called Ultimate Guitar. So there has little guitar tabs, and yeah, I was done.
So you weren't tempted to do a Jimi Hendrix and get a left-handed guitar?
Oh, I was definitely tempted. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember like the first time I sort of picked it up. I think because I was watching my dad do it, I just sort of knew that was the way, and I knew something was off, and it sort of clicked. But no, I have tried left-handed since, and I just cannot believe, like, I just look back and sit back and think how proud I am that I've learned all this muscle memory, because I cannot coordinate my right hand to do what my left hand can do. So it's just crazy to be able to look back and say, wow, I've taught my hand. How awesome is that? Like, imagine having to teach that all over again after all these years.
Yeah. Well, and left-handed people, of course, have to live in a right-handed world. So I tend to think lefties are probably a lot more adept at and a lot more ambidextrous than right-handed people could ever hope to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm such a dork saying this, but I'm going to get it out in the open. I've been talking about it a lot lately. I play golf, and
nothing wrong with that. It's a great sport.
Yeah, it's a great sport, but I play golf right-handed, and it's always interesting, if I get on, like go do bowling or something, I'm left-handed and stuff like that. So it's very interesting, when the left hand sort of flares up, or the right hand, like you said.
Yeah. Well, I play tennis, and there are lefty tennis players who will switch what they're doing, and some people who are left-handed who elect to play right-handed. So I do think being left-handed gives you flexibility. Of course, there are also the theories about how left-handedness opens up different parts of, like, creative parts of the brain. I don't know if there's science around that, but in your case, it certainly seems to be what's happening, because you are intensely creative. And the EP, I think, is evidence of that, because it's not just, as I said, the confidence in the singing and the songwriting, but the fact that stylistically it's not one thing. So there's a mix of blues, there's some rock, there's ballad in there. So I'm wondering what your musical influences were as you were growing up.
I've always been a big fan of just about every genre. One of my friends, he calls it genre fluid. It's a very modern term, which I love, and I'm going to start using more and more and more. But yes, I think one of my biggest influences was people like John Mayer and Keith Urban. Mm-hmm. They were two of my big ones. Absolutely loved them. People like Alicia Keys too. Adele used to, absolutely love her stuff, still do to this day. There's an amazing artist called Paolo Nutini, and he's very, very soulful and, very raw and authentic on his music. Mm-hmm. And I always want to, sort of encapsulate that sort of vibe. And I'm trying to think. I have so many, and I've listened to so many, but someone like Pink as well. I always just listened to her when I was a little girl, and I just absolutely love her.
Well, I suppose also because you do have a big, strong voice, that makes sense to have Pink as someone you might have sung along to as you were developing your own voice.
Yeah.
So with the 5 songs, were they the 5 you had, or did you have a bigger selection and you whittled it down to 5?
I think by the time that I started the recording process, I just started writing a couple more, but I felt that, and hopefully in hindsight this was a good idea. People are loving the songs, which is just great, but I just had those 5 songs. I'm pretty sure I had 1 or 2 extra, but those were the 5 that I felt like I could show as a showcase to say, I can do this, but I also want to show you that, I want to do this as well. And like, like you said, all those different styles, all those different genres. And I feel like that's really important too, because I'm never fit inside the cookie cutter mold. And I don't plan on doing it ever, because everybody's different, and the outcasts are always the cool people. I mean, that's what I tell myself anyway.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I feel like those songs really showed me as an artist and who I want to become. And, getting back into the studio this year, like I have planned, I feel like I'm ready to take on more of my sound and sort of narrow that into a niche for how I want to sound and not like anything else that you've ever heard before.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, as a singer, often your voice can suit one or two styles of music. So it's actually not that common to shift between styles, I think, as a singer in particular. So I was wondering if you, not necessarily did you practice singing in different styles, but how essentially you prepare to cover so many different styles in a recording studio?
Yeah, well, I think it all started with doing covers of different styles and doing so many cover gigs, like sort of trial and error really with different singing styles and where my voice can reach. And I've always been a super loud person. So that's really helped me with those, really loud, angry, very passionate songs. And that's sort of, my first single, Haunting Your Thoughts. That's what I sort of wanted to punch out with that because that's where I felt most confident. But, since my surgery as well, I had a surgery in January of 2021. And since then, I've been able to take a lot more control of my voice in all those different ranges. And I'm feeling a lot more confident in being able to try even more things and really take it to the next level so I can practice because I hate it, but it works. Practice works, makes perfect.
I saw on your social media you posted an anniversary photo of that surgery,
Yeah.
and I thought, wow, like for a singer to have surgeons poking around inside your mouth.
Oh, so scary.
Yes, it would be scary. So how did you manage the fear around that? I mean, a lot of people have to do things that they're afraid of, and I think it'd actually be instructive to hear about how you manage your fear for something like that when it's not just, oh, I'm afraid of the surgery, but also I'm a singer and they're poking around in my mouth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I went in there and so so we'll go back a long time ago. And so I was born with a cleft palate, so there's nothing wrong with my vocal cords, thank God, but the roof of my mouth, I didn't have one when I was born, so it fixed that up for me at such a young age. And because I'm growing and I'm singing and I'm as loud as I am, the palate started to shift and change, so we needed to fix that. And I was so worried when we first, all agreed on the surgery was the best thing. But I immediately came home from that hospital appointment, you can say, and I started writing stuff down that I wanted to know because I love being organized. I love being strict on that sort of thing. And I want to know what I can do in the situation afterwards to make sure that I'm back on track because singing is my life. And so I didn't deal with the fear straight away. I sort of went into production mode and just sort of started, thinking about all the possible outcomes and how I can go around fixing that instead of the fear of, oh, what if this doesn't happen? And then after a couple of days of, having that organized, I started to sort of seep in a little bit and I was, getting very, very scared, but I was very, very lucky to have a very confident, very great team of surgeons around me. And they've been the surgeons that I've had since I was yay high, very short. So I felt very comfortable to be able to talk to them about any concerns that I had. And I had my parents too. And, they were with me. They have been with me since the start. And they have seen me previously. And, I only remember the bad stuff, from when I was so young. But they sort of helped me look at the bright side and turn that fear into more of a positive side. Like, this might happen, but most likely it's going to just make you feel and sound better. And that's what you should focus on. So yeah, it's a lot of balance, I guess, definitely.
I'm sitting here in awe of your ability to come out of those doctor's appointments and be like, right, here is the project. And we will go. It's great. It's actually a great tactic though, because you were putting it into manageable increments, I guess. Yes. It's like, right, this is tick, 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 I can do this.
Definitely.
So after the surgery, and you obviously would have had to test your voice for the first time, how long did you have to wait after the surgery for that?
So I had to wait 2 months. So my surgery was on January 12th and I got to sing properly on March 10th. So that was the date that I was allowed to try, properly singing and belting out. So on March 10th, you'd never guess, I booked myself a gig right on that day. I could not wait. And, I was whisper singing, and even like a couple of weeks after surgery, I was sort of whispering, and I wrote some of my most favorite songs in that time. I think my brain was sort of doing everything in spite, like, oh, you can't sing? We're going to write you an awesome song that you can't sing yet. But I spent a lot of time in my room up early mornings just because I wasn't really doing anything else with my time, and, writing some really, really deep songs and being able to sort of, hum a little bit slightly here and there and see how it goes. And I also had a project down in Sydney that I was working with some friends with, and I had to fully make my own musical theatre tracks. And, musical theatre is very, very, flamboyant and loud and, over the top, which I absolutely love that. But it pained me so much that I had to make these tracks for other people to sing because I wasn't allowed to. But it was great in that time that I got to learn, more about the production and less about, actually singing. And I think that's helped me as well, now being able to sing, to add those skills into my repertoire and, just get better, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you are a very courageous individual, because you had no way of knowing how that gig was going to turn out, I guess, because you hadn't been able to sing. And I suppose you just thought, well, this is the test. I'm going to meet it, or just apologize to everyone.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. But I wanted to go for it because I'm a major overthinker. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you that. So, but yeah, I mean, I just thought, why not jump in at the deep end? This is something that I want to do, and why think about it when you can just go for it and see what happens. And, I was very shaky. I was very nervous, and I was throwing my voice. I had so much projection. I didn't realize how much it actually helped me.
Wow.
So I was trying to reel it in a little bit. I was whoa, all over the place. And yeah, so I've definitely focused a lot in 2021 on voice control and sort of balancing that out in techniques.
I was about to say, has your microphone technique had to change because of the projection?
Yeah, definitely. So I've always been, standing back from the microphone a fair bit when I do those really, really loud notes. But now, depending on the setup and stuff, I can stand back, and I can still sort of, project very proudly with a couple of instruments on stage too, and you can hear me. Yeah. And I'm very proud of that. It's one of my favorite things to do, is just to be loud.
I was going to say, you're doing it John Farnham style, because he's,
yes.
the microphones, right?
Hell yes. Love that. Yeah, definitely.
So when you normally do a show, I presume you play fairly regularly around Newcastle. Do you play with a band, or is it usually you and a guitar?
Usually me and a guitar for most of the gigs that I do around town. But when there is a special occasion, we could use January for an example. I had a show with an amazing, talented artist called Dean Challis from the South Coast. Mm-hmm. He came up to Newcastle on the 14th of January, and we did a show at the Stag and Hunter in Mayfield. And, it was ticketed, and it was fantastic, beautiful event. So many people came, and it was very, very heartwarming in a time that everything else was cancelled for me. But we did that, and I had, one of my friends with me, Hunter Beasley, and he's in my big band, but to have him on there, the chemistry just builds. And I think that shows like that are a little bit next level need to have that bigger sound and that bigger chemistry involved in it. So, things like that. And if I, do have full band shows booked, they're usually, meant to be full band shows. I don't usually, organize a show and then maybe it's going to be good with the band. But that's always an aspect to try as well. I'd love to be that spontaneous.
Well, it sounds like you enjoy testing your voice against having instruments behind you as well, because obviously that needs some adjustment if you've got electric guitar, electric bass, drums, all that kind of stuff.
Definitely, yeah. I do love a good challenge. I do.
Well, which doesn't surprise me given the challenges you set yourself thus far throughout. So I would imagine, therefore, that you have some plans. You said there's some recording on the horizon. I would think that as soon as you can play shows with some confidence, you'll be organising some shows in as many states as you're allowed into.
Yes, definitely. I'd love to go in a state and travel around. But I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, you know, after I'm recording, I do have a full band show here in Newcastle on the 6th of April with, you know, all of my mates going to be up on stage with me, and that's just going to be just fantastic to just be back in that environment. And that's at Lizottes in Lambton, which is a beautiful venue. I've had lots of great opportunities there, and they're like my second family. So very excited for that. And then Tamworth straight after that in the same month. So April might be the month for me. I'm very excited so far.
Well, I hope I get to see you play live. In the meantime, yes. I have the EP to enjoy, of course. Piper, it's been such a great pleasure talking to you. Can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Thank you so much. It's been absolutely so much fun talking to you today.
Lovely to see you. Bye.
See ya.